You are watching PR English Shorthand Dictations YouTube channel.
This is English Shorthand Dictation number 381 and the dictation speed is 100 words per minute. Ready? Start. Honorable Chairperson, Sir, I thank you very much for giving me an opportunity to speak on this white paper on the Indian economy. This title, White Paper on the Indian Economy, has got me surprised because when we talk about white paper on Indian economy, we should also see as to what time frame we are talking about. They are talking only about the last 20 years. I would like to highlight what the status of the Indian economy has been before British rule, during British rule, and after independence. Look at the Mughal period. We boast that India had about 25 to 30% of the world's GDP. When the Mughals were ruling here, they ensured that the wealth of the country stayed in the country and we were a prosperous nation. Subsequently, during the British rule, we were systematically looted. When we got our independence in 1947, India's GDP was only about 1% of the world's GDP. After independence, India faced the biggest challenge of nation building. When we got our independence, there were so many countries which raised doubt and said that India would not stay as a nation and would disintegrate soon. This was the scenario in which the government was functioning at that point of time. You also know the number of wars we had earlier with Pakistan and China. All these things had to be taken care of. At that point of time, the biggest threat to our nation was poverty. During that period, things like Green Revolution and White Revolution to improve agricultural production and milk production were focused on. In fact, during that period, our GDP growth was probably 1% or 1.5%. In fact, we used to be ridiculed by people saying that this is the Hindu rate of growth. In 1991, the economy of the country was opened up, and this resulted in overall financial growth. This government has given this white paper where they have talked about 20 years. I would like to go 10 years further back and talk about the things which have been happening from 1994. In 1994, India's GDP was 327 billion US dollars. In 2004, it went up to 709 billion US dollars, which is a growth of 115% in that decade. It grew up to 2.01 trillion US dollars in 2014, registering a growth of 180%, but it has grown only up to 3.6 trillion US dollars in 2024, and the growth rate is around 75 to 80%. So it has not even crossed 100%. Had they done a better job, probably the GDP of this country could have touched 5 trillion US dollars. Sir, one Rajya Sabha member from the ruling party itself has made comments saying that the Honorable Prime Minister does not know anything about economics and the Finance Minister knows nothing about what economy is or what finance is. So, this is a statement which has been made by their own party member, and they expect us to believe that the 10-year period of their tenure is a golden era and has seen great wonders. In 2014, when the present Prime Minister's name was announced as a candidate, he had promised that he would be able to get people 2 crore jobs every year and 15 lakh rupees by bringing back all the money from Switzerland, which has been stashed away by politicians. He also said that the prices of gas and petrol would be reduced to half. They had also said that the exchange rate of the US dollar would be reduced. Today, after 10 years, the government is submitting a white paper where there is no mention of any of these things. This white paper has no mention of demonetization, its effects, and what it achieved. All the opposition parties have been asking for that. When the government brought in demonetization, the concept of demonetization was that the amount of black money which was being hoarded was huge. The amount of counterfeit money was huge. They said that they were going to bring all that money back into the government. As per the information given by Reserve Bank of India, 99% of the notes which were printed by the government had come back. This only shows that the whole exercise of demonetization was a huge failure of this government, and they have not mentioned a single word about that in this white paper. Subsequently, we see how this government has tried to take away the federal structure of this country. In 2014, after the present government had come into power, the 14th Finance Commission came out with a recommendation saying that the devolution of funds to the states should be increased from 32% to 42%. The chairman of Finance Commission made a statement that the present Prime Minister opposed this and said that it should be increased only to 33%. The chairman said that he had to put his foot down and ensure that 42% was devolved. But the government, to overcome this problem, has increased the cess throughout the country from 2014. If you look at the price of petrol during the Congress regime in 2014, the cost of petrol was 60 rupees. The actual cost of petrol was 40 rupees. The state tax was 10 rupees. The central tax was 10 rupees, and cess would have been something around 0.5%. But if you look at the present value of petrol, the cost of petrol is 50 rupees. The central tax is 20 rupees. The state tax is 20 rupees. and cess is 20 rupees. That means they are taking away 20 rupees throughout the country and they are not giving it back.